Hey YouTube, today we're going to be talking about a technique. We're going to be trying it, a way to keep your livestock guardian dog inside the fence. We have had one of our dogs figure out that so we've got basically a perimeter fence with field fence, and we've got some of it hot wire or electric wire, high tensile. She has figured out in those spots where that high tensile is that if she hits it running real fast, that it doesn't shock her. So I'm going to show you all a little trick. We're going to try it here on the farm, see how it works. A little trick on how to keep your livestock guardian dog in their fence. So what we're going to be talking about is something called a yoke. Everybody thinks of, yoke, something that a mule or a draft horse pulls with. Well, it's similar. It is basically a collar that we manufacture and make that goes around your livestock guardian dog's neck, that it basically has a triangle shape to it. You have the lower end that's a little bit wider, and then the prongs that stick out of that triangle is what keeps them from, if they try to put their head under something or go under a fence or dig under a fence, those parts of the yoke that sticks out prevents them from going under. Now, don't be alarmed. It is made out of PVC pipe, very lightweight, very flexible. If they happen to try to go under something and they get stuck, they can pull out. It can break if it needs to break. But it's just a little something to slow them down. It's something to remind them that, hey, maybe I shouldn't be going through this part of the fence. We're going to give it a try. So this is what I'm talking about. This is kind of all you need, parts that you need. And I'm going to post in the description or in the comments below the actual list of what we used. We're using 1/2 inch PVC pipe. You can go up to 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch. I feel like it's going to be lightweight. It's going to be something that if they do need to get it out or they get it stuck between trees, they can break it if they had to. 3/4 inch is a little bit beefier, so we went with 1/2 inch. We've got basically starting over here, you've got your bolts. These are basically 2.5 inch long, 1/4 inch bolts, washers, nuts, and these are basically lock nuts, so they don't back out, they stay on. Then we've got 2 bigger bolts and nuts. These are actually 1/2 inch by 2.5 inch. These are actually going to just be weights. This is what's going to keep this triangle shaped yoke pointed in a downward direction. Stay tuned, and we're going to start assembling this thing. So of this 8-foot section of PVC pipe, your bottom part of the triangle has to be 36 inches. So we are going to cut this first piece at 36, and then the next 2 pieces we're cutting 30 inches. Our next piece is going to be right at 30 inches. So we're gonna just hold a tape measure. You could probably take a marker and mark it, but this PVC cut is really easy, so we're just gonna do it like this for now. One last piece at 30 inches. So here we are, got our 3 pieces of pipe, 2 short pieces, 1 long piece. So the next step is on our big piece of pipe, our longest piece, the 36 inch piece. We're going to go from each end, and we're going to measure off and drill holes at 13 inches, 14 inches, and 15 inches from the end, and on both sides. What that does is allows for adjustment. We can actually, once we get it on a dog, we can put it on different size dogs, dogs that have thicker necks, and it just gives us a little bit of adjustment room there. So we're gonna drill into those spots that we just marked with a 1/4 inch size hole for our bolts to go through. So there's our big piece. The next step is to take one of these shorter pieces and drill a hole at 6, 7, and 8 inches.
The other end on a different.
So you do this on one end of both pieces. So on the other end, opposite from those 3 holes, on the 2 shorter pieces, you're going to put a hole at 13, 14, and 15 inches. Now these holes have to be lined up. All these holes have to be drilled on the same side of the pipe. So make sure when you're making your mark to turn those whole side that you've already drilled, turn them up. And then 13, 14, and 15 inches from the end. So now, time to assemble it. So be sure that for each bolt, you have a washer on each end and then your lock nut. And what we're gonna do is basically cross the 2 30-inch pieces of pipe, and we're gonna put our bolt through the hole to hold it in place at the top. I would make everything finger tight, and then at the end, pull down, make sure it's where you want it to be. And take your bottom piece, do the same thing for each hole. We're gonna go with the smallest neck diameter first, and then when we go to put it on our dog, we're going to adjust it as needed. Alright, so finger tight. That's basically what the yoke looks like. Now we've got to drill some holes, and that's for our anchor bolts to help basically keep this thing sitting level with the ground. That long piece, that 36-inch piece of pipe, you don't want it to be ended up upside down up at the top. You want it to stay right there as low to the ground as possible. So we're going to take our big 1/2 inch by 2.5 inch bolts, and we're going to basically, if this triangle is sitting like it's going to sit on the dog, you want these weighted bolts down at the very bottom of the triangle. So basically we switched it around. The two shorter end pieces here are supposed to be towards the bottom of toward the ground. We had it where the long ends was sticking up, so you want the short ends at the bottom, long end up toward the top. And now we're going to drill our holes for the weighted bolts, the heavy bolts, so it keeps it sitting horizontal to the surface of the ground. Truthfully, I don't feel like that weighted bolt has to be a full 2.5 inches, because it's not going through two sections of pipe, it's just going through one. So you could probably get away with just a 1.5 inch or maybe even an inch bolt to weight that. Just make sure the diameter's thicker, because that's really where the bulk of the mass is, the weight's coming from. The bolts on, finished product should look something like that. Let's go see if we can put it on our dog. All right, so here's our culprit. We're gonna put the yoke on, thread the screw through there, and it's still loose enough. You can get your fingers under it. It's not too tight, it's not choking her out or nothing. It's just tight enough it won't come off. And then you'll need a wrench to tighten it down with.
Hi. Hi.
Hey, Briggs. So Raven's gonna have to figure out where she can and can't go with that thing on. But see, that's all it does. If she gets somewhere she can't go, it just stops her, and then she will back up and start over. The sheep don't know what to think. All right, guys, so for the yoke itself, we don't leave it on from now on. We'll just put it on long enough for her to realize that she can't go through the fences. Kind of tricks her brain. If we see her kind of try to go through a fence a few times and then she just stops trying, we're going to take that yoke off. May leave it a week. If she stays in the fence for that week, we'll take it off, see if she continues to stay in. So it's not a long-term thing, just kind of a training tool, something to have in your pocket. Maybe this video helps some of y'all. If you have a Pyrenees or livestock guardian dog that's getting out, this may be something that you can try to keep them in. As always, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more videos, and we got some cool stuff coming up in the fall and winter months. So thanks, guys.